And the best when, and an easy way to make sure that your knowledge actually is new is with a careful understanding of what's already happened.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Tea Time with Letitia on Gratified Grad, where it's my goal to help you graduate with gratification. In today's video, I am drinking, you'll see I got my tea. I am drinking ginger honey crystals. And this is a Chinese natural herb, even though, well, I guess the ginger is the plant. Actually, ginger is a plant. It grows in the ground. Check out a video where I went to the farmer's market and I actually got like a whole ginger root. Anywho, this tea is known to help soothe the stomach as well as help with nausea. In today's video, we're going to have tea time with a recent graduate, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and his tea.
Yeah, so my name is Roger Walker. I defended my PhD back in March of this year, and I graduated this summer. Graduated this summer. But currently looking for work / quarantining. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And the tea I'm drinking is called Cleanse, is the name, I guess. It's a mix of fennel, nettle, and peppermint. Now, each of those has various claimed health benefits, like pain relief and improving concentration, which is all nice. I'm mostly drinking for the taste.
Yeah, nice. I like peppermint taste I like the addition of peppermint to anything, so probably would like that tea as well. What did you get your degree in?
Material science. Should I be more specific, or is that good enough?
Can you say your research in a sentence? That may be asking a lot, but
I have attempted to do this before, so I will try to do it again. My research was on understanding how the processing and properties of polyethylene insulation influence its ability to act as the insulation material in high voltage power cables.
Oh, so insulation and power cables.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
That was the important part.
In today's video, we're going to have a conversation about reading and how to read science. So in talking to Roger before, we started this recording, he was talking about how he has his own kind of outline for reading science. Can you share that with us?
Yes. The way I generally go through reading scientific papers is the following, which has been passed on to me, and I'm sharing it with you. The first thing I generally do is go through, look at the abstracts and the figures. And at this point, if you're reading for a specific purpose, like for example, you want to read something that's going to fit into your dissertation or into a paper, this is the point at which you determine if you're going to move any further. Because at this point, you can generally tell by most abstracts and figures if a certain paper will be actually helpful to your project, or you need to put it aside and keep looking for something else. Once you've done that part, then you can read the actual paper. And I mentioned this before we started the recording, but just give some more detail about the way that I think about reading papers. What I normally do is I'll read the paper just by itself, just to get a feel for it, and then read through it again, but taking actual notes this time, looking for important things to take away, important things regarding like the methods, or interpreting figures properly, the conclusions, those sorts of things.
I want to go back to before I actually ask that, So you read your papers twice then? Or do you read it more than twice?
I have read some papers more than twice. That's normally because I've forgotten that I've read them. This is why taking notes is important.
I mean, okay, so that first initial read through is just to see what the paper has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second read through of the paper is to understand the figures and actually take notes for later use of the content.
Yes. I think of it kind of as like a funnel. So in the big picture, there is every paper you could possibly read. That's like the absolute biggest pyramid. And then you down select into things that are potentially useful for this specific topic that you're interested in. And then you now select further to things that are immediately useful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what I am envisioning then, so you're sitting at your computer and you're just typing in some keywords into PubMed. And for those who aren't familiar with PubMed, PubMed is it is a site that houses free scientific articles. So you type in, it's kind of like a Google but for science. But going back to Roger's process, so you have like a specific keyword that you may type into PubMed, and you get 500 or more articles in return. You read the title, and then kind of by the title, you're like, this fits. This is where like that's the very beginning of the funnel, or the very like the opening of the funnel, the opening of the funnel where, huh?
It could be either.
I like the funnel because it's like wide, and I mean, getting 500 papers back, 500, 1,000. I think I've even seen 15,000 returns for a search before, depending on how specific or broad you are. Mm-hmm. So like you get a lot back, and like there's no way you can search through. Well, I mean, let me not say that, because you very well could search through 30 pages of journal article titles.
It would take you your entire PhD, but you can do it.
So you're looking through these titles. And you can give us an example pertaining to your research, or you can just pick a random topic out of the air. But what in a title draws you to an article?
That's an interesting question. Normally what I look for in titles are, I guess, the keywords. Normally words that are directly related to what I'm looking for. So for example, my PhD research was on a particular insulation material for power cables. So most of the titles of papers that I cited for my dissertation and for papers that I wrote has the word of that material in the title, something related to electrical properties or dielectric properties or defects, those kinds of things. Normally I'm skipping ahead a little bit and also talking about writing, but normally the way I think about writing a title is that it should be at least somewhat obvious in the title of the paper what you did to somebody who's in your field. It might not be obvious to everyone because there's lots of jargon, but it should be obvious to somebody who is reasonably as educated as you are.
Okay, that makes sense. I think about as like right now, I've been doing a bit more reading, and whenever I'm looking for specific papers, or at least papers that are somewhat in my area, I will just type in C. elegans into the search bar, or type in mitochondria or the TCA cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
and see what comes back. Sometimes it's nothing relevant to what I care about, so then I gotta rethink what my search options are. But I do like how you thought of it in reverse of, as a person writing, what would you put in the title so that it can be recognizable by someone else in your field? I think it's beneficial sometimes to like turn it around and think about it as the writer. How would you word something when you're trying to search for something? But okay, yeah, so we have picked a title now and we are going into the abstract. Are there, I'm assuming, you're looking in the abstract for maybe the hypothesis, the conclusions or the claims they're making. Are there anything else, or what specifically do you look for in the abstract?
Abstracts are tricky because writing abstracts is kind of like an art rather than a science. So interpreting abstracts can be difficult. But again, it's more of the same of if I'm interested in this certain topic, does the abstract describe, I guess, experiments or results related to that topic? Again, I'm going to refer back to my PhD where I'm focused on a particular material and its electrical properties. So for example, did they do an experiment where they took the material, processed it in a certain way, and its properties changed in this way? That would be an important thing to convey in the abstract. Alternatively, did they take a bunch of different materials and I'll compare them using a particular technique?
I will agree and say that writing an abstract is an art. And it's not just up to the science. You can tell an abstract that's written well, and it really does convey and summarize the entire paper very well to where you know exactly what you're going to be getting into when you start reading the paper. And there are some that you just read it and you're like, I don't necessarily know what claims you're trying to make. I kind of caught the hypothesis that you're going with, so I have to read the paper to continue to really understand what you're trying to say. And which, now that I'm saying that out loud, I'm kind of thinking like, well, if I feel like I have to read the paper in order to understand what they're saying in the abstract, is that not a trusted, but I don't know, should I really consider using that paper with my work? I don't know. That was just something that came to my mind.
It also raises the question of what was the point of the abstract if I didn't get anything from it?
That is true as well.
Yeah, I read some papers with some pretty hard to parse abstracts, and others where the abstract was literally 3 sentences. X material is important. We did X experiments. We got X results.
Wow, I've never seen a 3-sentence abstract. Is this in a peer-reviewed, published, journal?
This might have been in proceedings, but
okay,
I'm only slightly exaggerating. It was pretty short.
Understandable. Yeah. But okay, so now we have picked out this title based off of keyword interest. We've gone into the abstract knowing that some people are really good at writing abstracts and some people just don't really convey the message in the paper very well. But you're looking in that abstract for the information about the paper. So you did choose this paper and you're doing your first read through. Are you looking for anything in this first read through?
Figures mainly. Looking at the figures, starting to interpret the figures. making good figures is really essential for science, and I don't think enough scientists really understand that.
I would definitely agree with that. Actually, my advisor, the way that she is training me to write a paper is to do the figures first. So basically, the figures should tell the story.
Yes.
The reader should be able to understand the progression of the story through the figures, and my words, so the text that I'm going to type in this manuscript, is to only add more technical information about the figures. And then, you know, at the end of it, it's more like, well, what are my thoughts? And the discussion that's where I can just kind of expand a little bit and just talk and not really think about the figures. So, yeah, my advisor, she is definitely one of those who puts the emphasis on the figures and making sure that they look well and they are easily interpretable.
Yes, that's how I generally write papers as well. Yes, and so as for the initial read through the paper, looking at the figures, looking at the conclusions, at this point, whether or not you want to actually go through and take notes or just leave the paper aside should be a fairly straightforward yes or no decision, at least in my opinion.
So is this, when you're making that yes or no decision, are you asking yourself, like, you know, am I satisfied with the conclusions that they're drawing from this? Or like, what goes into making that yes or no?
That no point goes back to something that we actually skipped during this whole discussion, which is why are we looking for papers to read in the first place? Because you can do this for different reasons. If you're looking to write, say, a review article, you might include certain papers in a review article since it's supposed to be like a bigger analysis than you would in, say, a focus paper that's supposed to be focused on your experimental results in particular, where you want to focus mainly on papers that either help to provide a justification for the research or are additional evidence supporting the claims that you're making from your own results.
Oh, but yeah, thank you so much for sharing with us your writing process. Writing is such a big part of getting your PhD, and it is a very technical skill, but it's learnable. Clearly, there's a number of us who have figured it out and gotten there. I'm still one that's trying to figure it out, but I'm gonna get there.